I walked onto my own property and found a demolition crew ripping my mansion apart. And the HOA president standing there, smiling, clipboard in hand, telling me I'd abandoned it. The smell of diesel exhaust, the screech of metal on wood, my 100-year-old oak staircase, the one I'd spent weeks planning to restore, in splinters on the lawn. 6 months ago, I bought this place for $127,000 at auction. Thornhill Manor, a 1920s lakefront dream on Lake Matthias, upstate New York. 6 bedrooms, 2 acres, 200 feet of private water. Sure, it was a wreck, but I'm Marcus Jennings, 20 years Navy Seabees. I've rebuilt bridges in war zones, left for a 3-month Alaska job, came home to this. The woman with the clipboard, Darlene Van Camp, real estate agent, HOA president, professional thief apparently. Would you have called the cops or done what I did? Comment below. Where are you watching from? Got an HOA nightmare? Tell me. Let me take you back to where this started, because every good fight has a reason worth fighting for. I spent 20 years in the Navy. Seabees, construction battalion. We built airstrips in the middle of nowhere, bridges under fire, barracks in 120-degree heat. Good work. Honest work. Then a training accident in my 18th year put shrapnel in my left leg. I walk with a limp now. Medical retirement at 45, Virginia disability checks, and a toolbox full of skills nobody wanted to hire. So I did carpentry, side jobs, deck repairs, kitchen remodels, kept me afloat. My grandmother Estelle raised me in a 2-bedroom apartment in Syracuse. She cleaned houses for a living, never owned anything, just rented, moved, rented again. But she had this habit. She'd clip pictures from magazines, lakefront homes, big porches, docks stretching into blue water. She'd tape them inside her closet door and whisper, "One day, baby, one day we'll have a place like that." She died when I was 23. Never got her lake house. Fast forward to 2 years ago. I'm scrolling auction listings, probably should have been job hunting, and I see it. Thornhill Manor, estate sale, foreclosure, lakefront, starting bid $95K. The photos looked like a horror movie set, but I saw the hand-carved oak staircase, the stone fireplace, built in 1924. Solid craftsman bones under all that rot. Auction day, I'm the only bidder. Closed at $127,000. Liquidated everything, savings, truck fund, Virginia rehab loan for $47K. My daughter Zoe said, "Dad, that's not a fixer-upper. That's a felony waiting to happen." First walk through, the smell hit me like a wall. Wet plaster, mouse droppings, something dead somewhere. Broken glass crunched under my boots. But sunlight poured through busted shutters, turning dust into gold. I ran my hand over that oak newel post, smooth, cool, generations of hands before mine, and felt Estelle watching. I had 18 months mapped out. Foundation, electrical, roof, woodwork, do-it-myself, stretch the loan. Day 3, a white Lexus parks at my driveway's end. Out steps this woman, mid-60s, helmet of ash blonde hair, pastel cardigan, clipboard gripped like a warrant. "Mr. Jennings?" Didn't wait for my answer. Darlene Van Camp, Architectural Review Board Chair for Lakeview Estates HOA. Thornhill violates 17 codes and 4 covenants. 30 days to submit plans for approval. I blinked. "Ma'am, I'm not in an HOA. Deed says no covenants." Her smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Oh, sweetheart, the plat map was amended in 2003. You bought in whether you knew it or not. There's nothing on my... Your title company missed it, not my problem." She clicked back to her Lexus, wouldn't step onto the gravel, like poverty was contagious, and left. I Googled her that night. Real estate agent, planning commission vice chair, widow of County Judge Van Camp, she mentioned him constantly later, owned 3 lake rentals. Ran Van Camp and Associates brokerage. 2 weeks later, I submitted 40 pages, architect drawings, engineer stamps, every spec. Rejection in 72 hours. Materials not in keeping with neighborhood character. I appealed. The ARB hearing was 10 minutes in a room reeking of burnt coffee and floral air freshener. Darlene sat at the head. Her buddy Ron, retired dentist, pasty guy, sat beside her. Darlene mispronounced my name 3 times. "Mr. Jenkins." Ron leaned in. "You sure you can handle a project this scope, given your situation?" Glanced at my leg brace. "Darlene, syrup sweet. We just want what's best for the community. Maybe a smaller property would suit you better?" I kept my face neutral. "I'll resubmit with adjustments." Walking out, I heard Ron mutter, "Good luck with that." That's when I knew. This wasn't about codes. She wanted me gone. Week 4. I hired a structural crew, 3 guys, good rates, to shore up the sagging north wall. Winter was 4 months out. If that wall went, the whole second floor could collapse. Day 2 of work, a county inspector pulls up. "Jerry, 50s, gut hanging over his belt, clipboard permanently glued to his hand. Work stop order. He slapped a red tag on my front door like he was serving a warrant. I wiped sawdust off my hands. What's the problem? Building permits incomplete. Foundation surveys off by 18 inches. Need an amended permit before you continue. Off by 18 inches according to who? Jerry shrugged. County records, you'll need a new survey. 6 to 8 weeks processing. All work ceases immediately. Walked back to his truck, boots crunching gravel loud enough to wake the dead. Didn't even look back. I called the survey company that afternoon. They pulled their file. Mr. Jennings, our measurements were accurate to the inch. We stake our license on it. Then who told the county it was wrong? Long pause. Permit review committee flagged it. There's a vice chair signature on the hold order. Didn't need 3 guesses. My contractor Lyle called that night. Good man, father of 4, voice tight with guilt. Marcus, I can't keep my crew idle 2 months. I got mortgage, truck payments. I'm sorry, brother. I know. No hard feelings. I sat alone in Thornhill that evening on the grand staircase. Only piece of furniture in the whole place. The half-braced wall gaped open to November wind. Outside, the lake lapped against the dock. Used to sound peaceful. Now it sounded like mocking laughter. My phone buzzed. Zoe texting. Dad, you okay? I typed back. Yeah, just tired. Didn't tell her I'd been staring at that wall for an hour thinking maybe she was right. Maybe this was a teardown. Maybe I should cut my losses, sell to some developer, take the L. Then I looked down. My hand was resting on that oak newel post. Smooth, cool. 100 years of other hands. I thought about Estelle in that cramped apartment taping magazine pictures inside her closet. One day, baby, screw that. I wasn't done. Next morning, I drove to the county clerk's office. Basement archives. The kind of place that smells like old paper and government neglect. Fluorescent lights buzzing like dying wasps overhead. I pulled every plat map, every zoning amendment, every HOA document from 1990 to present. Microfiche machines humming, pages scrolling until my eyes burned. 3 nights, gas station coffee that tasted like asphalt, and then I found it. That 2003 amendment Darlene kept waving around, the one that supposedly tied Thornhill to the HOA, never ratified by county legislature, just town council. I remembered something from a construction law class the Navy made me take. Town councils can't impose deed restrictions on existing properties without higher approval. It's selective enforcement, spot zoning they call it, illegal as hell in New York. And Darlene's signature was right there on the petition. Her late husband the judge, Ron the dentist, 2 other board cronies. All 5 owned lots next to Thornhill. I cross-checked property records. After that amendment passed, their values jumped 30%. They'd rigged the game to squeeze out Thornhill's original owners. I scanned 18 pages, drafted a 6-page memo at 2 a.m. with shaking hands and my 4th cup of burnt rubber coffee. Emailed the full town council, copied Beth Ramirez at the local paper, copied the state attorney general's HOA fraud hotline. Subject, illegal covenant enforcement and abusive process, Thornhill Manor. Hit send at 11:47 p.m. Tuesday. I'm no lawyer, can barely spell affidavit, but Fury and Google make one hell of a legal team. By Thursday, town council scheduled an emergency session. Translation, panic mode. Darlene called Friday afternoon. I stared at her name on my screen, almost let it go to voicemail. Marcus, first names now. Her voice dripping fake warmth like poisoned honey. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's have coffee, work this out like neighbors. I stood in Thornhill's skeleton, looking at exposed studs, the tarp snapping in the wind over that half-finished wall. I'll take my coffee at the next council meeting, Darlene. Public comment period. Silence. Then I heard it. Her nails, sharp little clicks against her phone, a tight breath. You're making a mistake. Probably not my first. Definitely won't be my last. I hung up. That night I installed 4 security cameras, every angle covered, cloud backup. If she wanted war, I'd document every battle. The council meeting was 2 weeks out. Plenty of time for her to escalate. And, oh, she did. Week 7. I showed up to the monthly HOA meeting, open to the public technically, ready to present my findings about that illegal plat map. I had printouts. I had my laptop with scanned documents. I even wore a button-down shirt instead of my usual Carhartt. Figured I'd look respectable, professional, harder to dismiss. I walked into that meeting room at the community center and knew immediately I'd been outplayed. Darlene had beaten me there by 2 hours. Every single seat had a glossy flyer on it, full color, professional print job. Must have cost her $500 easy. Guess that's what panic buys you. Header in bold red. Safety concerns at Thornhill Manor. One resident's reckless renovation endangers us all. I picked one up. My hands didn't shake. That's Navy training. You don't react until you've assessed the situation. But inside, I was furious. The flyer claimed my unsecured construction site was attracting trespassers, teenagers drinking by the lake, leaving trash. Said debris from my work was washing into the water, creating environmental hazards. Accused me of doing unlicensed electrical work that could spark a fire and threaten neighboring homes. Every single word was a lie, but it was printed on heavy cardstock with charts and bullet points, so it looked true. Darlene sat at the head table, hands folded, that pearl necklace gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She smiled at me, not a friendly smile, the smile of someone holding a royal flush. I sat in the back row, didn't say a word, just listened. 3 neighbors testified, all of them ARB members or relatives thereof. First up was Phyllis, 70s, Darlene's bridge partner, floral dress, and enough perfume to gas a small room. My property value has dropped $40,000 since that man moved in. $40,000. My realtor confirmed it. She wouldn't look at me. Second was Ron the dentist. I've personally witnessed unsecured materials, lumber piles, exposed wiring. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Third was some guy I'd never seen. Turned out to be Ron's cousin, lived 3 streets over. My kids used to play by that lake. Now I won't let them near it. Who knows what's in the water? The room nodded along. People I'd never met, never wronged, all agreeing I was some kind of reckless menace. One woman in the 3rd row glanced at me, then quickly looked away. Then Darlene stood, cleared her throat. The room went silent. Given these serious concerns, I'm proposing an emergency bylaw amendment. Any uninhabitable structure left unoccupied for 90 consecutive days can be declared a public nuisance. The HOA would have the authority to remedy the situation, up to and including demolition, with costs billed to the property owner. She paused. Let that sink in. We're not targeting anyone. This is about protecting our community. Ron nodded. Phyllis nodded. Half the room nodded like bobbleheads on a dashboard. When public comment finally opened, I didn't stand up and yell, didn't slam my fist on a table. I walked to the front calmly, pulled out my phone and connected it to the projector, borrowed from the VFW hall that morning. Before you vote, I said, voice level, you should see this. First image, time-stamped security footage from my cameras. 11:14 p.m., 3 nights prior. Ron, yes, that Ron, pulling up to my dock in his pickup, dumping a hefty bag of empty Bud Light cans onto the grass, then driving off. You could see his license plate clear as day. The room went dead silent. Phyllis's mouth opened. Ron turned the color of old oatmeal. Second image. Water quality test results from an independent lab dated 1 week ago. 0 pollutants detected near Thornhill's shoreline. Then a second report. Elevated bacteria levels near, and I read the address aloud. 346 Lakeshore Drive. That's one of your rental properties, Darlene. Leaking septic tank. Cost me $220 to test. Worth every penny. Third, a printout from my lawyer buddy at the VA. Rick had looked at Darlene's proposed bylaw and laughed so hard he nearly spilled his coffee. Turns out passing a rule specifically to punish someone who already bought property, that's what lawyers call retroactive application, basically illegal in every state with functioning courts. Plus, I'd been paying property taxes and insurance every month since closing. Legally, that's maintaining occupancy. Her bylaw was theater. I looked straight at Darlene. Mrs. Van Camp, I don't know if you're trying to steal my home or if you just can't stomach the idea of someone like me, a guy with a limp and a VA check, owning a piece of this lake. Either way, I'm not going anywhere. And if that bylaw passes, I'll see you in court. Fraud and selective enforcement don't tend to play well there. Silence. Not a cough. Not a shuffle. Then Beth Ramirez, the newspaper editor, sitting in the press section, started clapping. Slow, deliberate. 3 other people joined in. Darlene's face went from pale to crimson in about 2 seconds. She stood, grabbed her folder, and walked out without adjourning the meeting, just left. Ron had to scramble for the gavel and bang it twice. Meeting tabled, pending legal review. I walked out into the parking lot. Cold November air, smell of wet leaves and gasoline from the mowers stored behind the building. My hands were shaking now, adrenaline finally catching up. Next morning, I found a dead raccoon on my front porch. Stiff, eyes clouded. Someone's idea of intimidation, I guess. I stood there holding my coffee, staring at it, and genuinely wondered what kind of person thinks a dead animal is a power move. Called animal control, had it removed in 20 minutes, added another camera aimed at the porch. Darlene wanted to play stupid games. Fine. I had unlimited storage space and a growing evidence folder. Week 10. Darlene changed tactics. Since the HOA route had blown up in her face, she went back to what she knew best, weaponizing her planning commission connections. Monday morning, 8 a.m. sharp, a code enforcement officer showed up. Clipboard, reflective vest, took photos of my property from 17 different angles like he was documenting a crime scene. Wrote me up for overgrown vegetation creating fire hazard. The vegetation in question, native wildflowers I was intentionally preserving. I'd even gotten it certified as wildlife habitat through the state conservation program, had the paperwork and everything. Didn't matter. Violation issued. $500 per day if not corrected within 10 days. Tuesday, health inspector. Found an open foundation violation. The open foundation was a crawl space vent, standard ventilation, required by code in every house built after 1950. Still got written up, another $500 per day. Wednesday, fire marshal. Cited me for unsecured hazardous chemicals. My paint cans, stored in a locked metal cabinet per OSHA regulations, labels facing out, lids tight. I showed him my Navy Seabees certification. I'd handled actual explosives in combat zones, but he just shrugged and wrote the ticket. $500 per day. 3 violations. 10 days to fix problems that weren't problems. Total potential fines, $15,000. I sat at my folding table that night in the pop-up camper. No running water in Thornhill yet, no heat, just me and a space heater that barely worked. November cold crept through the canvas walls. My bad knee throbbed in the damp. I spread those citations out like a losing hand at cards and did the math. 15 grand would wipe out what was left of my renovation budget. I'd have to stop work entirely, sell at a loss, prove Darlene right. I sat there for an hour staring at those papers and genuinely wondered if Estelle would have wanted me to destroy myself over a house. Maybe the smart move was surrender. Then my phone rang. Lyle, my old contractor, the one who'd had to bail months ago. Marcus, I heard what she's doing. It's garbage, man. Look, I can't do full-time, but weekends, I'm yours, free labor. You just cover materials. I couldn't speak for a second. Lyle, you got 4 kids, mortgage. I can't ask you to... You're not asking, I'm offering. My kids need to see that sometimes you stand up to bullies instead of just talking about it. Let me help. My throat went tight. 20 years in the military, I'd had brothers in arms. Hadn't expected to find one here. Yeah, okay, thank you. 10 minutes later, Elena called. My neighbor 2 lots over, the one who never joined Darlene's HOA cult. Marcus, I saw who dumped that raccoon. Ron's brother-in-law. I got his plate number. I'll sign an affidavit if you need it. Elena, you know she'll come after you next. She laughed. Sharp. Bitter. Honey, she's been trying to cite me for unapproved mailbox color for 3 years. I'm used to it. Besides, my daughter's watching. I'm not teaching her to look away. That's 2, I thought. 2 people willing to stick their necks out. Third call came that evening. Beth from the newspaper. I've been digging into Darlene's past. Found 3 prior HOA disputes. All settled out of court. All with NDAs. Can't print specifics, but the pattern's obvious. She's a repeat offender. Can you run with that? Not yet. But keep feeding me facts. I'll build the case. I hung up and sat there in the dark camper, space heater humming, and realized something. I wasn't alone anymore. That changed the math entirely. Week 11. Then Darlene filed a lien against Thornhill, claimed I owed 6 months of HOA dues, $200 per month plus $800 in late fees, $1,200 total. The lien hit public record Friday afternoon. Monday morning, my bank sent a letter. Title cloud detected. Resolve immediately or loan may be called. That was the gut punch. A lien tanks your credit, spooks lenders, kills renovations dead. Darlene knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to financially strangle me. I called Rick, my VA attorney buddy, told him everything. Long silence on his end, then a low whistle. Marcus? Filing a knowingly false lien in New York? That's a misdemeanor. Plus, it opens her to civil damages, triple the lien amount. She just committed a crime in writing and signed her name to it. How fast can we move? 48 hours. Watch this. Rick sent a demand letter that afternoon. Certified mail, legal letterhead, the works. Withdraw the lien in 48 hours or face criminal referral and a $3,600 counterclaim. Darlene's expensive Albany attorney called Rick Tuesday morning. They spoke for 11 minutes. Wednesday, the lien vanished. No apology, no explanation. Just gone. But Beth ran the story anyway. Page 3. Veteran battles HOA overreach. Van Camp under scrutiny for development conflicts. In a town of 8,000, page 3 might as well be a front-page felony. That night I built a fire in the pit by the dock, burned the lien withdrawal notice ceremonially, completely legal, completely satisfying. The paper curled and blackened, smoke twisting up into the cold October dark. I could smell applewood from the kindling, taste the ash on the wind. Somewhere overhead, a skein of geese honked south. They had the right idea: leave before winter kills you. But I wasn't built that way. I cracked a beer, sat on the cold dock planks, and watched the embers glow. Darlene was panicking now. Panicked people make mistakes, and I'd be there to document every single one. Week 13. Beth called me on a Tuesday morning while I was up on Thornhill's roof patching a leak, hands numb, fingers barely working. "Marcus, you need to see this. I'm coming over now." 20 minutes later, she pulled up with a cardboard file box and the kind of caffeinated energy that screams either breakthrough or breakdown. We crammed into my camper, barely room for 2 humans in her evidence pile, and she started pulling documents like a magician with a very boring rabbit. I requested 5 years of planning commission votes, took them 6 weeks to comply, but look, she'd made a spreadsheet. Darlene's votes on one side, development projects on the other, 7 controversial lakefront builds, all 7 approved by Darlene. All 7 were Van Camp and Associates clients. Average commission, 22 grand each. I whistled low. That's a pattern. That's a career. But wait, there's more. She pulled out a brittle photocopy. Property records 2019. Thornhill Manor pre-foreclosure. Edward Collier, the original owner, was in a nursing home. His daughter Claire was trying to manage the sale from Oregon. Stapled to the back, a notice of interest, filed by Darlene Van Camp. Offer, $95,000. My stomach dropped. She tried to buy Thornhill, lowball offer. Claire rejected it. 6 months later, it went to auction. Darlene probably thought she'd coast in, grab it for pennies, flip it to a developer for 300 grand. Beth's grin was sharp. Then you showed up and ruined her retirement plan. How'd you find the daughter? Reporters never reveal sources, but Claire kept emails. Read this. She handed me her phone. Email from April 2019. Darlene's business account to Claire Collier. Subject, final offer. 3 sentences. Miss Collier, I urge you to reconsider my offer of $95,000. If you refuse, I will ensure the property is condemned as uninhabitable. The town will seize it via eminent domain, and you will receive nothing. This is your last opportunity to walk away whole. I read it once, twice. My vision tunneled. She threatened to destroy someone's inheritance if they didn't sell to her. Extortion in writing, using her planning commission position as a weapon. Claire's been carrying this for 5 years, thinking nobody would believe her against a judge's widow. I handed the phone back. My voice came out flat. What happens now? Forwarded to the DA and Attorney General this morning. Rick has copies. This isn't HOA drama anymore, Marcus. This is felony abuse of office. Criminal extortion. She weaponized her public position for private profit. I leaned back against the camper's thin wall. The space heater rattled like it was trying to shake itself apart. Outside, the lake churned gray and angry. How many others, you think? More than we'll ever know, but that email's a smoking gun. Beth packed up her files. DA's opening an investigation. Albany News Station wants to run it tonight. 6 p.m., I watched on my phone. Young reporter outside Darlene's office knocking. She opened the door, saw the camera, slammed it hard enough to rattle the frame. Mrs. Van Camp, did you threaten eminent domain to force a property sale? Her voice through the door, shaking. No comment. Leave me alone. 18 seconds of footage. By midnight, 18,000 Facebook views. Comments exploded. A contractor said she'd blocked his permits until he hired her nephew. A retired teacher claimed Darlene threatened violations when she wouldn't list with Van Camp and Associates. The town was excavating decades of buried grudges. I sat on the dock that night, breath pluming white in the cold, and thought about Edward Collier, about his daughter getting that threatening email, about every person Darlene had crushed, who didn't have cameras or lawyers or a newspaper editor in their corner. She'd built an empire on fear. Now the foundation was cracking. My phone buzzed. Text from Rick. DA wants to meet. Thursday, 10 a.m. Bring everything. I texted back. Everything? Might need a truck. His reply, bring the truck. I smiled in the dark. Darlene had spent months trying to bury me. Time to return the favor. Thursday morning, VFW Hall, 9 a.m. I showed up with 2 file boxes, a laptop, and every receipt I'd saved since buying Thornhill. Rick was already there. My attorney buddy, 50-something, perpetually rumpled suit, sharp as a tack. Beth arrived with a thermos of coffee strong enough to dissolve spoons. Lyle brought blueprints. We spread everything across the bar like we were planning a bank heist, except legal and significantly less profitable. All right, Rick said, cracking his knuckles. Darlene's wounded but not dead. DA's investigation takes months. We need 3 simultaneous attacks. He grabbed a cocktail napkin. I'm dead serious, an actual bar napkin, and drew 3 arrows pointing at a stick figure labeled DVM. 1. Legal offense, civil suit for harassment, abusive process, slander, 50 grand in damages. Even if we settle for 20, it bleeds her legal budget and keeps her on defense. 2. Public pressure. Beth, you're our war correspondent. Weekly updates. Every dirty move Darlene makes, we document and publish. Make her name poison in this town. Beth was already typing. Calling it the Thornhill Chronicles. Got a videographer buddy who'll shoot for free. 3. Finish the house. Fast. Best revenge is proving she failed. Turn Thornhill from derelict eyesore into the crown jewel of the lake. Lyle tapped the blueprints. Foundation solid. Electrical next. My brother-in-law Troy, licensed electrician, ex-army, he'll work at cost. Then roof and siding before first snow. I stared at Rick's napkin masterpiece. 3 arrows. 1 crude stick figure enemy. It looked like a 3rd grader's art project. It was beautiful. How do I explain this to normal people? I asked. Rick leaned back. Abusive process is easy. Imagine your neighbor keeps calling the cops on you for noise violations, but really he just hates your dog. The law says you can't weaponize the system for personal grudges. That's Darlene. She used building codes, liens, inspections, all as harassment tools because she wanted your land. I'm quoting you word for word, Beth said. Good. That's why they pay me in VFW coffee and gratitude. We worked through lunch, drafted the complaint, outlined Beth's editorial schedule, mapped renovation milestones. By 2 p.m. we had a war plan. By Saturday morning we were swinging hammers. Troy showed up at 7 a.m. with 3 apprentices and enough electrical wire to power a small town. I worked beside them, pulling cable, drilling junction boxes, learning on the fly. Troy was patient, good teacher. You did construction in the Navy? Seabees. Mostly demolition and framing, not much on wiring. Same concept. Electricity flows like water. Just don't cross the streams or you'll blow something up. That I understand. We ripped out the original 1924 knob and tube wiring, cloth-wrapped, brittle, some pieces charred black from decades of overload. Troy held up a particularly crispy strand for Zoe's camera. This is what we're saving this house from. 1 good lightning strike and Thornhill would have burned to the foundation. That Instagram clip hit 40,000 views in 2 days. Comments rolled in. Real American craftsmanship. This is what backbone looks like. Darlene who? Then the community showed up. Elena organized a Thornhill barn raising. Old school work party. Saturday morning, 30 volunteers appeared, veterans from the VFW, Elena's church group, curious neighbors, even Phyllis, yes, that Phyllis, Darlene's former bridge partner, showed up carrying a pie. Pumpkin. Homemade. She set it on the porch railing, hands shaking slightly. Wouldn't quite meet my eyes. The note tucked under the tin read, I was a coward when I should have been a neighbor. Thank you for showing me the difference. I found her later painting window trim. Phyllis, you didn't have to... Yes, I did. I'm 73 years old. I don't have time left to be on the wrong side. We painted siding, raked 6 months of leaf rot, planted 200 spring bulbs that had bloomed long after this fight was over. Deke from the lumber mill rolled up with a truckload of reclaimed oak. Heard you need flooring. I reached for my wallet. He stopped me. Darlene extorted $2 grand out of my grandson for a deck permit 3 years ago. Called it expediting fees. This is on me. Call it delayed justice. By sunset, Thornhill glowed. Not finished. Months left, but alive. Lights in the windows. Laughter bouncing off the water. Deke fired up a grill. Someone brought a cooler of beer. Impromptu party on the lawn, the smell of charcoal and cut grass mixing with the lake breeze. I stood on the porch watching 30 people who'd been strangers 6 months ago, now working like family, and felt something unfamiliar bloom in my chest. Not victory yet, but hope. Actual hope. Monday, Rick filed the lawsuit. $50,000 in damages. 18 pages of exhibits. Darlene's attorney called within hours asking about settlement. Rick's response, see you in court. Tuesday, the state board suspended Darlene's real estate license pending ethics review. Van Camp and Associates shut down overnight. Her empire, gone. I installed a 24/7 live stream on Thornhill's porch. YouTube channel, Thornhill Restoration. 3,200 subscribers by Friday. Description, rebuilding a dream. Watch us win. I set up a cot in the foyer, sleeping bag, space heater. I wasn't leaving this house again. Darlene wanted Thornhill? She'd have to drag me out. And this time, I had witnesses. Thousands of them. Week 18, early December. I woke at 3 a.m. to every security alarm in Thornhill screaming at once. Not a malfunction. The motion sensors were going berserk. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the live feeds, and watched in real time as a truck with obscured plates backed up to my driveway and dumped a mountain of construction debris. Broken drywall, shattered tiles. And then, bags marked with orange hazard labels. Asbestos. Illegal to transport without permits, lethal to expose, and now spread across my lakefront like a toxic welcome mat. The truck idled for 90 seconds, then peeled out, gravel spraying. My final county inspection was in 5 hours. Someone had just tried to get me arrested. I didn't panic. Navy training. Assess before you react. I threw on a coat, grabbed a flashlight, and walked outside into air so cold it burned my lungs. The debris pile was massive, 2 tons easy. I started documenting everything with my phone. Photos from every angle, video walkthroughs, close-ups of those asbestos bags with their warning labels clear as day. The smell hit me then. Diesel exhaust still hanging in the air, mixing with the chemical stink of old building materials. This wasn't random. This was expensive. Someone had paid good money to destroy me. At 7:30 a.m., Jerry, the code inspector, showed up early. He wasn't alone. County sheriff's deputy trailing behind in a patrol car. Jerry climbed out, saw the debris, and I swear his face lit up like he'd just won the lottery. Mr. Jennings, illegal dumping of hazardous materials is a Class E felony in New York. You're looking at criminal charges, potential jail time, not just fines. I leaned against my porch railing, coffee in hand, and let him finish his speech. Then, Jerry, this dump happened at 3:17 a.m. I've got 4K footage with timestamps. Want to see who actually drove that truck, or should we keep pretending? His smile collapsed like a failed souffle. I pulled out my phone, showed him the video, the dump in progress, the plate-obscuring tarp that didn't quite cover the VIN stencil on the door. That truck's registered to a landscaping company, owned by Ron's brother-in-law. You know Ron, RB member, Darlene's poker buddy. Should I show this to the deputy, or are we done here? Deputy Greg walked over. Couldn't have been older than 25. Clean uniform, honest eyes. The kind of cop who actually believes in the job. What's the situation? I handed him my phone. Deputy, someone dumped 2 tons of asbestos on my property at 3 a.m. while I was asleep. I've got witnesses who can confirm I was here all evening working. That's the truck. That's the timeline. This is a frame job. Greg watched the footage twice. Didn't say a word. Just radioed his sergeant. 10 minutes later, Sergeant Kowalski pulled up. Older guy, weathered face, zero patience for nonsense. He reviewed the video, looked at Jerry, then at the debris pile. Inspections postponed. This is a crime scene. We'll photograph, sample the asbestos, run that VIN. He turned to me. Mr. Jennings, you'll need licensed hazmat removal. Don't touch anything yourself. Already called them. Elena's cousin arrived at noon with a crew in full Tyvek suits and respirators, moving through the debris like they were dismantling a bomb. Each piece bagged, each bag logged, chain of custody tighter than a military operation. I stood on the porch watching, coffee going cold in my hand, doing the math. $4,200. That's what this stunt was costing me. When they finished, I walked inside, sat down at my laptop, and typed up an invoice. Professional, itemized. $4,200 for emergency hazmat cleanup. I printed it on fancy paper, slid it into an envelope, added a handwritten note. Darlene, consider this an invoice for your desperation. Payment due in 30 days. Late fees apply. Sent it certified mail. She'd never pay. That wasn't the point. The point was making sure she knew that I knew, and that I wasn't afraid. Tuesday, Ron resigned from the ARB. One sentence. Personal reasons. His brother-in-law's company put out a press release. The truck had been stolen that night and mysteriously returned the next morning with a full tank of gas. Even Ron's neighbors weren't buying it. By Thursday, the DA added sabotage to Darlene's file. Conspiracy, property destruction, witness intimidation. Her expensive Albany lawyer stopped taking her calls, probably realized she couldn't pay his retainer anymore. Van Camp and Associates went dark. For lease sign in the window. Darlene's white Lexus sat in her driveway under a tarp, collecting snow like a tombstone. I installed 2 more cameras. 6 angles now, covering every approach. The YouTube live stream hit 5,200 subscribers, people watching me sand floors and grout tile in real time. One comment stuck with me. This is better than Netflix, and I actually care if the hero wins. I wasn't a hero. I was just a guy who refused to quit. But Darlene still had 1 card left to play. And desperate people make the worst decisions. Week 20, mid-December. I was inside Thornhill installing cabinet hardware. The kitchen was finally taking shape. When I heard a car pull up. Not Lyle's diesel truck or Elena's rattling minivan. something quieter, expensive. I looked out the window. Darlene's white Lexus, engine idling in my driveway. She sat behind the wheel, alone, no clipboard, no backup, just her, staring straight ahead like she was working up courage. I watched for a full minute. She didn't move. Finally, I walked down to meet her, hands in my jacket pockets, breath fogging in the December cold. She cracked her window exactly 2 inches, wouldn't roll it down further. Her face looked 10 years older than the last time I'd seen her. Makeup not quite hiding the sleepless nights, hair pulled back tight but missing that shellacked perfection. 2 months of legal warfare had carved her hollow. Marcus. Her voice was steady on the surface but brittle underneath, like ice over deep water. I'd like to make you an offer. I leaned against my truck bed, arms crossed, waited. $300,000, cash. We close in 30 days. You walk away clean, no lawsuit, no bad blood, and I'll make sure the DA drops the investigation. She said it fast, practiced, like if she paused she'd lose her nerve. I let the silence hang there. A crow cawed somewhere in the pines. The lake whispered against the dock. She was offering me triple what I'd paid, enough to buy something easier, somewhere without history, without her. You don't have that kind of pull anymore, I said quietly. Your license is suspended, your business is shuttered, and you definitely can't make a DA drop criminal charges for extortion and fraud. Her hands went white knuckle on the steering wheel. You don't know what I can still do. I have friends in this town, connections, people who owe me. Had friends, past tense, and this house isn't for sale. Not to you, not to anyone. That's when she snapped. The polished veneer just cracked wide open and all that poison came pouring out. You stupid, stubborn... This place should be mine. I worked this town for 20 years. I built relationships, I invested, I made things happen, and you just show up with your sob story and your goddamn cameras and your... She gestured at my leg brace, the one I wear when the weather's cold and the shrapnel aches. Her face twisted with contempt. You think you deserve this? A guy like you? You think because you got hurt playing soldier, you get to just take what should have been mine? I felt my jaw lock. Felt heat rising despite the cold, but I kept my voice level. I didn't take anything, I bought it legally at public auction. And you can't stomach the fact that someone like me, a guy with a limp and a VA check and zero political connections, gets to own a piece of this lake. That's what this is really about. Not codes, not safety, just you thinking some people don't belong. Her face drained white. She'd heard herself. Heard what she just said out loud. Her eyes dropped to my collar, to the small black camera clipped there. Body cam. I'd been wearing it since the sabotage. One-party consent state. Completely legal. You're recording, not a question. Horror. Every conversation on my property gets documented now. You taught me that. Funny how lessons work. She slammed the Lexus into reverse. Tires shrieked on gravel. She rocketed backward, nearly took out Elena's mailbox, then tore down the street doing 40 in a 25. I stood there in the settling dust, then walked back inside and uploaded the footage. 3 copies. Rick, Beth, secure cloud. The audio was perfect. Her bribe offer. Her threat about controlling the DA. That venomous rant about me not deserving Thornhill. Every ugly word preserved forever. I sat at my laptop listening to it again, and something clicked. This wasn't about me. Never had been. Darlene had spent 3 decades building an empire on making people feel small, on deciding who belonged and who didn't. I'd just been the first person to say no loud enough that others heard. Beth called within the hour. Marcus, this is a prosecution's dream. She admitted witness tampering on tape. It's more than that. She said all the quiet parts out loud. Post it. The article went live Tuesday. Headline, Van Camp caught offering bribe admits vendetta. A guy like you doesn't deserve property. Beth embedded 30 seconds of audio. Darlene's voice raw and hateful, talking about who deserves what. The comments section became a confessional, a retired teacher. Darlene blocked her principal promotion for refusing campaign donations. A contractor, she demanded 10% kickbacks on every job, called them consulting fees. A widow. Darlene tried to force a sale 6 months after her husband died, claimed the property was too much house for a woman alone. 30 years of small cruelties finally getting air. Thursday, the DA added charges, attempted bribery, witness tampering. The civil suit grew, intentional infliction of emotional distress, Exhibit A attached. Friday, the town council voted to dissolve the ARB permanently. Over the weekend, the HOA lost 80 member homes. Darlene's business partner issued a statement so carefully lawyered, it basically screamed, "I'm not going down with this ship." And Sunday afternoon, 60 neighbors met at the library. No HOA, no bylaws, just people. They formed the Lakeview Watch, voluntary, no enforcement, just neighbors helping neighbors. Phyllis stood up, hands shaking. I followed her. I was wrong. I'm here to do better now. The room clapped, quiet, respectful, forgiving, maybe, in time. Elena found me after. The DA scheduled a public hearing, January 9th. Community impact statements before arraignment. You speaking? I nodded. Yeah, I'm speaking. Good, we all are. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks until we ended this in front of everyone who'd watched, waited, or suffered in silence. I was ready. January 9th, the community impact hearing was scheduled for 6 p.m. at Town Hall. Capacity, 300. By 5:30, 450 people had crammed inside, standing room only against the back walls. Overflow crowd outside watching through the windows, breath fogging the glass. I'd never seen the town show up like this. Not for elections, not for budget meetings, but for this, everyone came. The media circus was in full effect. 2 Albany news stations set up cameras in the press section. Syracuse sent a stringer. Someone said the New York Times regional desk had a reporter in the 3rd row taking notes. Beth sat front and center, recorder running, notebook open. This was her story, but it had become everyone's. Darlene sat in the front row because she had to, mandatory appearance per the DA's office. Her expensive Albany lawyer sat beside her, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. She wore a navy suit, pearl necklace, hair perfect again, trying to project control. But I could see her hands in her lap, trembling slightly. She wouldn't look at the crowd, just stared straight ahead at the empty podium, like if she didn't make eye contact, none of this was real. The DA, Sandra Ortiz, mid-40s, no-nonsense reputation that preceded her by miles, stood and called the hearing to order. Gavel cracked once. The room went silent so fast you could hear the radiators hissing. This is a community impact hearing for case number 2024 CR 8847, People versus Darlene Van Camp. Charges include abuse of office, extortion, attempted bribery, filing false instruments, and witness intimidation. Before formal arraignment, the court invites affected community members to speak. We'll proceed in order of sign-up. She called my name first. I stood, walked to the podium, and looked out at 450 faces. Some I knew, most I didn't. But they were all here. For this. For me. For everyone Darlene had crushed. I'd written notes, threw them away that morning. This needed to come from somewhere deeper. My grandmother's name was Estelle Jennings. She raised me in a 2-bedroom apartment in Syracuse. Worked as a housekeeper her whole life. Never owned anything. But she had this habit. She'd clip pictures from magazines, lakefront homes, big porches, water views. She'd tape them inside her closet and tell me, "One day, baby, one day we'll have a place like that." I paused. The room was so quiet I could hear someone's phone vibrate 3 rows back. She died when I was 23. Never got her lake house. But 2 years ago, I bought Thornhill Manor. Not because I'm rich. Not because I have connections. Because I worked, I saved, and I showed up at an auction. That's how America is supposed to work. The system, when it works, doesn't belong to whoever shouts loudest or knows the right people. I looked at Darlene. She still wouldn't meet my eyes. Darlene Van Camp tried to steal that. She used her position, her connections, her authority to harass me, bankrupt me, and drive me off my own land. Why? Because she wanted it for herself. Because she thought someone like me, a veteran with a limp and a disability check, didn't deserve to live on her lake. My voice stayed level. No anger, just facts. She failed. Not because I'm special. Because people in this town stood up. Because neighbors helped. Because the law eventually worked. Thornhill Manor isn't just my home. It's proof that bullies don't always win. I stepped down. The room erupted. Half the people standing, applauding. The other half stunned, silent. Beth was wiping her eyes. Elena was nodding. Even Phyllis in the back row had her hand over her heart. Next up, Claire Collier, the daughter of Thornhill's original owner, testifying via video link from Oregon. Her face filled the projection screen. Tearful but determined. My father built Thornhill in 1924. Raised 5 kids there. When he went into the nursing home, Darlene Van Camp threatened to have it condemned if we didn't sell to her for pennies. We lost that house because of her. I'm grateful Mr. Jennings fought back. I wish we had. Third, Elena. She walked up calm, nurse steady, and spoke for 2 minutes. Described the dead raccoon, the intimidation, the fear she felt for her daughter. I teach my kid to stand up to bullies. Then I watched Marcus actually do it. That's the lesson. Fourth, Deke, the lumber mill owner, gruff, reluctant, not a public speaker. She extorted $2,000 from my grandson over a deck permit. Called it a processing fee. I paid because I was scared. I should have been Marcus. I wasn't. But I can be now. 5 more people spoke. A pattern emerged. Darlene had been doing this for decades. Small cruelties, quiet extortions, death by 1,000 cuts. When the testimony ended, D.A. Ortiz stood. Thank you to everyone who spoke. The court recognizes the profound impact of these crimes on this community. Mrs. Van Camp, you're invited to make a statement. Darlene's lawyer whispered in her ear. Long conversation. Finally she stood, faced the room for the first time, and said 3 words. I have no comment. Then sat. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then someone in the back, sounded like a teenager, coughed the word coward. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. The DA didn't smile, but I saw her mouth twitch. She banged the gavel. The defendant is formally indicted on 6 counts. Bail set at $50,000. Arraignment scheduled for February 3rd. Darlene posted bail that night, but her mugshot was online by morning. The damage was done, not in court, in the eyes of everyone who'd watched her refuse to speak. March. 14 months after I bought Thornhill Manor, the final county inspection happened on a Tuesday morning. Jerry showed up, yes, that Jerry, with a different inspector supervising him. They walked through every room, tested every outlet, checked every joint. 2 hours later, the supervisor signed off. 0 violations. Thornhill Manor was officially, legally, completely habitable. I stood on the front porch holding that certificate of occupancy like it was a birth certificate. In a way it was. The house had been dead for a decade. Now it was alive. That weekend I hosted an open house. 200 people came, neighbors, volunteers, people who'd never set foot on the property but had followed the whole saga online. The place gleamed. The oak staircase I'd spent 40 hours hand sanding caught the afternoon light and glowed like honey. The original stained glass windows, restored by a craftsman Elena found, cast jewel-toned patterns across the maple floors. The lakefront dock that Lyle and Troy rebuilt as a gift stretched 20 feet into water so blue it hurt to look at. The smell of fresh linseed oil on the floors mixed with the scent of Elena's tamales and Deke's smoked trout. Laughter echoed through rooms that had been silent for years. Kids ran across the lawn. Someone brought a guitar. It felt less like a house tour and more like a wedding, celebrating something that almost didn't make it but survived anyway. Beth cornered me in the kitchen. You need to see the numbers. She showed me her notebook. Total cost, $163,000. Purchase, materials, permits, legal fees, hazmat cleanup, everything. Current appraisal, $485,000. I'd created $322,000 in value through sweat, stubbornness, and refusing to quit. She grinned. That's the real story. Not revenge. Economics. You proved that labor plus community support plus not backing down equals wealth creation. That's the American dream, Marcus. You built it with your hands. I looked around the kitchen. Cabinets I'd hung, counters I'd installed, tile I'd grouted at midnight. Estelle would have loved this. She's here, trust me. As for Darlene, she pleaded no contest to 4 counts in a deal that dropped the other 2. Sentenced to 18 months. Suspended, meaning no jail time if she stayed clean. 300 hours of community service. $15,000 in restitution paid to me. I got a check in April. Deposited it the same day into a fund I'd been thinking about. She lost her real estate license permanently. By June, she'd moved to Florida. Sister's condo in Tampa. Her Facebook went dark. The house she'd lived in for 30 years went up for sale. I felt no joy watching her leave, no schadenfreude. She'd lost everything that mattered to her. That was punishment enough. Kicking her while she was down would have made me her. But here's what I did with that restitution money and a chunk of the civil settlement. I partnered with the town library to create the Estelle Jennings Memorial Scholarship. Full ride for 1 local student per year studying a trade: carpentry, plumbing, electrical, welding. The skills that built this country and still pay the bills. First recipient, announced at the open house, Sophia, Elena's daughter. 17, sharp as a tack, wanted to be a licensed electrician. She cried when we told her. So did Elena. So did I, a little, though I blamed it on sawdust. Thornhill itself got a second life. I live in the master suite. The other 5 bedrooms became a rotating artist residency. Painters, writers, musicians, free stays 3 months at a time. Only requirement, create something. The house that almost got demolished now hosts creativity. Poetic, maybe. Definitely intentional. Every quarter I host lakefront forums, open community meetings, no HOA, no bylaws, just neighbors talking about what matters, fixing the boat launch, organizing lake cleanups. Last month, 60 people showed up. The dock became a free kayak launch. I posted a hand-painted sign, all welcome, no HOA required. On sunny mornings, I drink coffee there and watch herons hunt in the shallows. My daughter Zoe deferred spring semester to help run the residency program. We're closer now than we've been since she was 10. She's learning carpentry, says she might want to renovate houses like I did. I told her she's tougher than me. She laughed and said that's a low bar. I adopted a 3-legged rescue dog, named him Colonel. Irony intended. He loves the lake, chases geese he'll never catch, sleeps on the porch in the sun. We're a good match. 2 gimps who refuse to quit. Some mornings I sit on that dock, Colonel beside me, and feel Estelle's presence. Not in grief anymore. In pride. She wanted one of us to have a lake house. Mission accomplished, Grandma. The final thing I did, I carved a sign from reclaimed oak, hung it above the front door with brass hardware that'll outlast me. It reads, Thornhill Manor, Est 1924, reborn 2025. Last week, a reporter asked if I had any regrets. I thought about it, about the money, the stress, the fights, the sleepless nights. No, I said, I'd do it all again. Some things are worth fighting for. She asked what's next. I smiled. There's a developer trying to condemn an entire street 2 towns over. Eminent domain abuse. The neighbors asked for help. Figured I'd share what I learned. She laughed. You're not done fighting. Ma'am, I'm just getting started. So here's my question for you. What's the worst thing an HOA or petty bureaucrat has ever done to you? Drop your story in the comments. Wildest one gets featured next week. And if you want to see how ordinary people beat corrupt systems, hit that subscribe button. We've got more fights to win. Thanks for watching. This is Marcus Jennings, signing off from Thornhill Manor. Proof that they can try to bury you, but they didn't know you were a seed.
Thank you for tuning in to HOA Stories, where neighbors stand up against HOA Karens and karma comes a-knocking. If you like this story, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more HOA tales and real-life neighborhood drama each week.